in Charlottesville some time ago, I have to start with one of my favorite quotes by Thomas Jefferson, which is that error of judgment may be tolerated where reason is free to combat it. And I hope today to give you, with this presentation, a little bit of the reasoning behind the development of fusion technology, specifically inertial electrostatic confinement, fusion. So I'm going to be, what I've decided to do, since my audience is not composed of physicists, I have chosen to avoid a lot of formulas and keep to the core issues. First of all, starting to explain fusion versus fission. But before I begin, I would like to ask one question. One of the Nathan scholars that I had been talking to earlier, not Nancy, I had asked him, we were talking about the Department of Energy and our reliance on foreign oil. Does anyone here know when the Department of Energy was formed? Anyone? This student said that it was during FDR's time. For the sake of the record, I won't mention his name because I don't want to embarrass him, but the DOE was actually founded during the Carter administration. And it was founded to remove our reliance on foreign oil 30 years later. So, fusion versus fission. Last night, Jack Kennedy sent me an op-ed that was actually written by Nancy, and I liked the first quote so well, I thought I'd put it up here. Fusion differs from fission. Perhaps the simplest way of looking at it is fusion brings items together to create energy. Fission tears them apart. Now, I don't necessarily know that we are getting currently 14% of the world's energy today from fission, but it's probably close and might even be a little bit more depending on how we stack up the data. Now, one of the things that she mentioned that I did not put up here is that if you Google YouTube fusion 2100, you will see a fantastic, absolutely fantastic media piece that promotes fusion. It is fantastic because it has clearly been developed to inspire the minds of young people. It has one major fallacy, however, that bugs the heck out of me, and that's that it goes after the very, very large fusion projects that have been ongoing for some time and are expected to go on for many more decades. Now, first of all, for those of you who are thinking, is this anything like cold fusion? No, this has nothing to do with cold fusion. Is it hot fusion? We like to call it warm fusion. It's quite hot, but it is not as hot as, for example, the ITER tokamak project. Some of the breakthroughs I'm going to talk about would not have transpired without Dr. Miley. Dr. George Miley began his career at the University of Illinois just 3 years after the program was started. He founded his own firm, NPL, and he has been developing not just inertial electrostatic confinement fusion, but other forms of fusion technologies for many decades now. He was the one that wrote Fusion Energy Conversion in 1976, and he is still considered the father of inertial electrostatic confinement. The picture there is him receiving the Integrity in Research Award for his unique contributions to energy research. I have known George for 3 years personally. I've known about him for many years before that. Why fusion? We are in a pickle. We have a variety of energy sources in our portfolio, and some of them are linked to issues such as terrorism, such as global climate change. We need a way out. Some people like to say that there will be a critical impasse around 2050. I think it's going to be much sooner than that. And it's not just energy, it is the collusion of a variety of issues right now in terms of the available resources and the available energy sources to meet the needs. We are taxing our world tremendously. Fusion can provide a means to address both the greenhouse emissions as well as the issues of more and more energy needs. There are some major projects that you may have heard of, and I'll just touch on them briefly. ITER. Right now, if you will, imagine an absolutely enormous reactor, gigantic. Now imagine pools of molten lead. Imagine a whole host of activities that will require, and probably some people are saying 16 years to first plasma, others are saying more like 20, 25. So in terms of providing a solution, it's huge, it's cumbersome, it's highly radioactive. In other words, it produces neutrons. And not only is it expensive, large, and radioactive, but we don't necessarily know that it'll work. Peer review of certain aspects is not positive. There are other programs, of course, ICF. I don't necessarily think that ICF is going to take off. They haven't had any funding in the last 2 to 3 years, and they don't really have a good technological development program. There are other alternative approaches for fusion. IEC, you'll see, is perhaps the most favorable. Now, let me step back and say that of all these various alternative fusion technologies that are currently in consideration, none of them, including the tokamaks, have sufficient data right now to show that this is where we should be spending $300 million. Nevertheless, their exploration is timely and essential. Now, why IEC fusion? Well, when selecting an alternative energy source, you want the smallest, the most simple constructions, and you should do so with advanced fuels that have the ability to burn and be used for direct electric conversion to achieve a really attractive energy system ready for market in 2015. That's way before ITER's tokamak or any of the other competing projects right now. Now, that describes the IEC fusion device perfectly. The basic construction is quite simple. It offers a variety of configurations. And furthermore, those configurations, you can actually produce neutrons. Normally, you don't want to. And normally, with an IEC, you are producing alpha particles, which can be stopped with a few pieces of aluminum foil or paper. But the opportunity for a wide range of commercial applications is there with IEC, making it an attractive option because there are commercial places and spin-offs along the way to getting to the final holy grail, which is more energy out than energy in with an IEC reactor. Along the way, by way of example, Dr. Miley, after he developed the STAR mode, which I'll show you a picture of in a minute, was actually able to commercialize a small handheld neutron creation device. It's literally a small IEC using the STAR mode. Chrysler used it on their ore belt manufacturing facilities to detect imperfections in the metal. There are health opportunities with neutron creation, and there are a whole slew of other applications that if I had hours, I would show you quite a few. The important key here is that it is simple, it is small, and it is therefore capable of rapid development, unlike the tokamak project. What are the non-technical